Hey folks, welcome back to a whole new pod, a podcast all about Disney Channel original movies. I'm Lucas Melby.
And I'm Jacob Telejohn.
And I'm afraid this week we're hit with sad news, delayed sad news, that in this month, a few weeks ago, actor Rip Torn sadly passed away. You might have known him as that one old guy in Dodgeball.
Yeah.
I believe Freddy's dad and Freddy Got Fingered, as well as other. And I would like to think of Rip, may rest in peace, as a fan of the pod and a friend of the pod. And this didn't get passed around because we try to keep it private, but one of his dying wishes were for us to continue on our path in reviewing DCOMs, but specifically to review his favorite DCOM, Rip Girls.
Oh, no.
Rip Torn presents Rip Girls, also known as Rest in Peace Girls and Rest in Peace
Rip Torn.
Rip Rest in Peace Torn. I told Jacob I had something planned, but just to stick with me. So
if you can't dodge death, you can't.
So we got there. It was a journey.
Ugh.
Just like the journey we took as we watched our movie today, as we just mentioned, Rip Girls. Rest in peace. Rest in pizza. What do you want on your tombstone? Pepperoni and cheese. We're coming fast and
Pile
loose
driver.
already. So yeah, nowhere to go now. We just gotta go.
You
into
said
the
just
movie.
like the trip, blah blah. Just like the trip of our main character.
Yeah, we took a journey, and the movie Rip Girls starts off with a journey. The final leg of a journey, actually.
Yeah.
As after we get the brief title card of Rip Girls,
Yeah.
as we're soothed by some low-key,
Love the music.
jaunty, funky kind of islandy guitar riffy music.
Rippy music.
Rippy music, yes. Very good.
Okay, we gotta stop
No.
the
Because after having watched Rip Girls,
Oh,
it's not clear why it's called Rip Girls.
no.
I mean, I have a theory. We can get into that later, but something as we were watching the movie I kept trying to think about and bring up is, why is it called Rip Girls? Is this what ripping is? Is this what the kids are doing?
Ripping some waves? Maybe.
So yeah, we get the title card, Rip Girls pops up, get that good music.
Good music.
Setting the tone.
On a plane, we got our main character who's doing a narration.
Really, we get a narration at the beginning and a narration at the end. So I was pleasantly surprised by that, but coming off of Alley Cat's strike, I was really worried that the writers of DCOMs had discovered this great crutch they could use of just
Narration.
having weird narration to explain everything.
No.
But in this narration, we're seeing Sydney, not in the narration.
It's not a freeze frame as opposed to
So
Alley
Sydney
Cats.
is in a
Strike.
plane that is descending into Hawaii, landing on one of the islands.
Yeah.
And the narration is talking about how she grew up on Hawaii, apparently, but she hasn't been back for a while. She doesn't remember anything. And it must have to do with something that happened with Mom.
Yeah, you'd think.
So we're already setting up some tragic backstory for our character.
Yes.
And Sydney looks over at her dad, and who we'll soon learn is her stepmom, Elizabeth, who are on the plane as well. But they're not sitting by her. They're sitting in two seats, and there's a third seat by her dad.
Yeah.
That he just has like his bags in, and Sydney's just sitting by herself somewhere, and I just thought that was really strange.
Just for range of motion for all of her picture taking she's doing.
This is a pre-2001, pre-9/11 movie where you could just bust out your camera and electronics and take pictures on the plane as much as you wanted. I guess maybe it's a small detail that she's not sitting by her parents to indicate that she's kind of distant from them. And she's having some issues.
Ooh.
That's just the deep cerebral nature
That's
of
what you're
Rip
digging.
Girls.
You're ripping that out from the movie?
Right out of it. We get to the destination that they were flying to Hawaii for, which is a big house, which is also a plantation. So it's a house and farm area that's tied to a great deal of land. And as they're pulling up, the family we see is getting spied on by somebody with a pair of binoculars.
Binoculars. You don't really get to see that person. It's literally just binoculars and some hands. I was trying to say, are these man hands? Or are these?
It's a mystery that continues throughout the rest of the movie
and throughout the rest of our lives.
We'll get to that later. But so Sydney is all about her camera. So she gets to this nice house. But the first thing she wants to explore is the scenery, the location, checking out the island of Hawaii. We get a little bit of a stylistic flourish with there's camera shutter, the shutter sound of a camera to cut to different scenery as she's going around taking pictures.
Yeah.
And it's definitely, you're getting a vibe that she is a voyeur in her life. She's voyeuristic. She experiences life behind the lens because we see her looking at some surfers and she's just taking pictures of them, but she's living a very passive life.
Yes.
It's deep, there are some deep aspects to this movie that actually are written fairly well. But after choosing to walk around instead of exploring the house first, then she goes in to explore the house. She encounters a cat.
Spooky cat.
Yeah, it's an almost jump scare, but it's pretty tame. We'll see the cat a little bit later.
Which she ends up following because it runs away.
Yeah.
And this cat eventually leads her to another building.
Yeah, as I said, we'll get to that later. But then her parents come in, and I don't know where her parents were, because I just figured they were in the house. But then they come into the house, and then we're greeted by their attorney, who I don't know if we actually ever learn his name. But the attorney, I don't know how Hawaiians normally dress, but I feel like they're really pushing a heavy Hawaiian stereotype with this guy, because he's come in and he's got a Hawaiian shirt on.
Sandals.
He maybe is wearing lays, or a set of lays, but he gives Sydney, and he did not say the classic joke of "you just got laid."
Oh, wow.
Because he's a professional.
And she's 13.
But he's talking to them, and it's kind of interesting in a DCOM way that Sydney's kind of looking around the house as the attorney's talking to the parents. So the details that are very important to the thrust of the plot as this movie will go along are very much in the background and almost inaudible at times. So we hear something about 2 weeks. So we got to have a deadline, some kind of ticking clock in our DCOM. So 2 weeks is how long they're there to be able to sell the plantation or something.
Yeah. That's what I get out of it.
Something along those lines, because Sydney, I don't even know if we get this right now either, but eventually we'll learn that Sydney inherited this plantation from her aunt. So her mom's sister, her deceased mom's sister.
Correct.
Which...
We don't know how the aunt died, because she wouldn't have been that.
But this is a very relevant plot. It's something everybody can feel. I've inherited plantations on Hawaii before. It's very relatable for the average DCOM viewer.
Absolutely.
It doesn't get into You Lucky Dog territory completely. There are some aspects that reminded me of You Lucky Dog.
I didn't even think about that connection.
But,
that's very true.
But as the attorney is talking to the parents, Sydney is exploring the house still, and she finds a picture in a cupboard of a hot surfer lady who turns out to be her mom.
She's 16. Oh. She was probably she was of legal age, I'm sure, in this photo. She looked like she didn't look like she's 13. She didn't look like a Sydney, okay?
You're burying us further there. What do you want on your tombstone, Jacob? So she thinks, could this be my mom? Because I guess through this we learned that she never knew what her mom looked like. Her dad didn't keep any pictures of her. And when her mom would have died, she was too young to remember.
She was 2 years too young.
Yeah, I think
2 years.
It's established that she was young. 2.
Yeah.
So she brings the picture to her dad, and he's like, he's very deadly serious. He's taken it back. He's like, yes, that's your mother.
I haven't seen that photo in 30 years.
Can I borrow that?
Oh.
Sorry, Elizabeth. Look away. But no, she keeps it. She puts it in her bedroom on her mirror, on her vanity. To look at and do other things with later.
Wow.
So next day is... Do you want to explain, Jacob? Because you were so excited to talk about where the cat leads her.
Okay, so this cat that I had mentioned earlier, It's
a black cat, like Salem.
Yes, I skipped 5-10 minutes of the movie. but the cat leads her to, when we were watching the movie, to the next plot point, the next big thing, to the barn, the abandoned barn, which clearly hadn't been used in a long time.
It's not even so much a barn, it's like a shack, and it's just filled with a bunch of random shit.
It has
There's an owl in there.
Horse saddles, horse helmets. But anyways, she's following this cat around. It's meowing. It's knocking stuff over. The owls, who, when we're getting close-ups of the owl.
It's a weird, almost magical sequence of the cat seeming, very directly leading her to something. But, it's not Halloween Town or anything. It's just a normal cat.
And I don't know if the board... Spoiler, I don't know if the board got knocked down from the cat.
Yeah, which is why I don't remember either, but as she's looking
there was like a loud noise, and then she looks up, and then there's this surfboard up against the wall.
So as she's looking for the cat, she finds a surfboard. The surfboard will turn out to be an old surfboard, at least, 11 or so years old. Ooh. But it seems in very clean condition. It's pretty sparkly new looking in this shack full of a bunch of rundown shit.
Yeah.
So ignore that. That's not important. As she's leaving, she just is carrying this. I don't remember. Yeah, she was carrying the surfboard.
She carried the surfboard out, and she's walking down the path that she'd walked up to the barn when someone comes out of nowhere on a bike, and she crashes. And we soon find out that this girl's name is Gia, because they introduce one another.
Mm-hmm. So Gia's talking about surfing because she sees that she has the board, and she's like, "Oh, do you surf?" I don't think Sydney really says, like, "I do." She just kind of is like, "Yeah."
You know how it is.
Yeah, she was just kind of...
She was asking her, like, "How does the board ride?" I think, or something. You know how...
Very, vague.
Yeah.
Kind of how I would deal in a situation where I was confronted with somebody awkwardly like that. And she shows Gia some of her pictures on her computer, and Gia's like, "Oh, have you ever, tried to get down in the action?" And Sydney's like, "Oh, I don't know." But it's going to happen because that night, weirdly over a game of chess, Sydney and her dad are playing chess. Yes. And her dad's like, "Oh, maybe we'll go on a hike to this valley or something." And Sydney says, "Hey, maybe I could just go to the beach." And Elizabeth Elizabeth trying to be the best stepmom she could be. "Oh, that's a great idea. We could pack a picnic lunch." And she's like, "Bitch, you ain't my real mom. I was saying I'm going to go to the beach alone."
Damn.
And then her dad is like, "Oh, I'm not having any of that. You know about riptides, undertows,
rip girls."
And I think that's actually...
That makes sense.
That is the etymology of rip girls is riptide. That's the only thing that makes sense.
Wow.
Yeah. There you go. All right, pack it up. That's been an episode.
That's a wrap.
That was Rip
Shortest episode ever.
So Elizabeth, still trying to be a good stepmom's like, "Oh yeah, sure, she can go by herself." And the dad reluctantly allows her.
Because he knows.
Yeah.
He knows.
So the next day, the parents meet with some realtors.
Yes.
Which is they were just going to go on a hike. Why was he making these promises when I guess he had to meet with realtors the next day? I don't know what the dad was doing there.
I don't know.
Whatever the case may be. Sydney goes off to the beach on her own.
Yes.
At the beach, and to be clear, she does not tell her parents she's going to surf. She just is going to go to the beach and take pictures or something.
Well, I thought she had mentioned... Hadn't she mentioned G at this point or not yet?
Yeah, I think she had told them about G.
That's why she was going down.
She was going to go meet up with her island friend.
Ohana.
So at the beach, we immediately get some ska music. This is the era. This is the time. Every single DCOM that we get that has ska, I just assume has to be the last one that will have ska, but we keep getting more, and I'm all for it. And I want to say that this might have been, based on my memory, the best ska song in any of these movies so far, so...
Might have to run that back.
Yeah, I'll record it off of my computer. So Sydney meets up with Gia and her friends who aren't important. The one friend who is Kona, who will come out right away. And you probably could guess, even if you haven't watched along with the movies as you've listened to the podcast, you can tell where this is going to go. The single important boy character who is also a skateboarder who has an arm in a cast. Yes, he is going to be the love interest, and that becomes clear very quickly.
Yes.
So as somebody with a broken arm and a cast, he can't surf right now, and that's totally harshing his vibe. And he's just observing with Sydney kind of explaining what's going on, and by that, I mean using really dumb slang. I wrote down this exchange because I thought it was really funny. So Kona goes, "She's going off!" And Sydney says, "That's good, right?" And he says, "That's hot!" So, not super clear, probably to Sydney, what he thinks is going on. But so Sydney speaking of hot, immediately has the hots for Kona.
Yeah.
Starts taking his picture kind of surreptitiously, and he's like, what's going on?
He notices what she's doing, and he mentions, and then she stops because he's noticed, and then he says, oh, what did I break your lens? Or would your lens break?
Yeah, or it stopped working.
Stopped working.
Yeah, because I'm so hot.
Yeah. Well, because she stopped taking the photos, and she's like, oh. Because that's all she does in the whole movie. She just whispers. It's just a...
Jacob mentioned that. To be fair, she maybe could speak up louder with some of her line deliveries, because sometimes it's maybe a little hard to hear what she's saying, but she's purposefully soft-spoken to, again, hit home her, standing back, experiencing life passively behind the lens of the camera. Yeah, that sort of thing.
And this might have been the beach scene that we see the binos again.
The binos? Oh, no, not yet.
Next one? Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll have that marked down. So I'd say in the pantheon of love interests, at least as far as boys we've had in DCOM so far, Kona's okay.
Definitely the cutest.
He's not as, boring as, I don't even remember the kid's name in Xenon, who, was hardly a thing. He has some weird quirks about him. We'll get to one in a short little while.
I don't really remember there being a boy in Xenon.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
I remember the main dancer, dude.
No, it's not I don't even...
Protozoa.
Yeah, I was going to say amoeba or something. All right, Xenon 2, the sequel. When's that coming?
Oh, soon.
So after she stops taking his picture and he's kind of, flirting with her or whatever, he's like, well, hey, why don't you get out there and surf? And she's like, oh, no, I can't. But Gia and company quickly come up, talk her into surfing, teach her the basics.
Yeah, well, I mean... Still, at this point, everybody thinks that she can surf, and he's kind of digging into her, oh, why not, whatever, oh, maybe, have you never surfed before? Have you never done this? And she's just like, no, I've never.
Which is something that comes up.
How could you never have surfed?
Something that comes up later on in the movie is somebody accuses her of lying about her surfing ability. But it's very clear that she is taught how to surf by this person, which happens right here, that she's being taught how to surf. So she wasn't lying about her surfing ability. It was very clear that she didn't know how to surf. And she progressed very quickly through the class. She gets the most basic of basics and then is out hitting the waves.
Yes.
In true Johnny Tsunami fashion. This is what I wanted Johnny Tsunami to be. Not that I wanted Johnny Tsunami to be a girl. That's neither here nor there.
Yikes.
I wanted Johnny Tsunami to be about a fucking, surfing in Hawaii. And I feel like maybe somebody at Disney realized, hey, you know what? Let's go to Hawaii again. And they'll think that again with Johnny Tsunami too, because they're like, hey, maybe let's go to Hawaii again. So they get out there, they're hitting the waves.
Bruh.
And it's, she's doing all right. Seems to be a very quick learner. And unlike Johnny Tsunami, it does seem like most of the kids in this movie are doing their own surfing. It's not always as over-the-top radical as what is shown in cutaways in Johnny Tsunami. But even the main girl, Sydney, is doing her own stunts, so to speak, it seems. Yeah. Gia, at some point, throws out some dumb mantra of, you gotta surf for yourself. It's not about impressing other people. And I just wrote, eye roll.
Vomits. Pukes.
The themes and messages of this movie quickly start to pile up.
There's a lot. Not
all of them
going on.
Get paid off completely.
No.
This is... Overall, I liked this movie and thinks it, went in some kind of fun directions. But some stuff does not pay off, and actually a lot of stuff does not pay off.
We ended up having to look into ourselves.
So this is where, you might have been right, actually. This is where the binocular spy is back.
I have stalked by Guy in binoculars. So I must have thought the
I think this time it showed a little bit more of them, and they were wearing a fisherman hat, which, I guess a girl or a boy could wear that, but it seemed likely that it was a guy. So, who is it? We'll find out. Maybe? So, Sydney lets drop in some conversation about, oh, I'm not so good, and Gia's like, you got time. Well, I only got 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And that's because...
2 weeks. They're going to sell the plantation.
Gia says, what? You're not staying at the house? Well, my dad's an English professor. And then my stepmom, she says, I thought she was going to say, my stepmom's a bitch, so we can't live in Hawaii. But she says, I don't know, she's like I can't remember if she's like a florist or something. I don't know. I was too busy laughing at my own jokes. So Sydney goes to an appointment her parents have with the attorney and the realtors that were shown briefly earlier. The realtors are setting up a deal to sell the property to a company who's going to make a big resort area there. And this is where I was starting to get some You Lucky Dog vibes. I was wondering if the realtors were going to become a bigger role and sneaking around on the property trying to scare them into selling or something, which I'm glad they didn't because I kind of hate that sort of hokey shit. So, but we see that Sydney's not on board because they say, "Oh, we're just gonna knock down the buildings," and she's like, "But they're historic."
And then the guy chimes in, the Hawaiian shirt dude. Well, yeah, they've been around since 1912.
And this is where I was really starting to think, like, there's too many themes going on with this land deal. We're both dealing with maybe
the mother dying.
Yeah, the mother dying and discovering stuff with that. Kind of discovering yourself with not getting out from behind the camera, experiencing life on your own.
The resort.
Yeah, the resort, which both deals with maybe ecological, loss of forests and stuff.
Feelings
and also,
for a guy.
Feelings for the guy, and with the land deal, also destruction of, like, traditional Hawaiian places and, like, culture in a way.
Yeah.
Feelings for the guy, and throw in a little bit about, like, surfing for yourself. And there might even be, like, one or two with, like, the dad later.
We were 45 minutes, I think, in at this point.
I think it was even a little less than that.
Oh, my.
So, there's a lot going on in this movie, and those are all...
The mysterious binoculars person, that's another little hidden little tidbit.
But all those themes are something interesting. Like, I think the character of Sydney is actually kind of unique.
This could have been a 4 or 5 hour movie.
For a DCOM. But just pare down, do, like, 3 of them. Like, do... Hawaiian culture, do
the mother.
Sydney. Cut out probably the Sydney stuff, like, even though that's interesting, but it's like, do Hawaiian culture, do discovering about your mom who died.
Yeah.
That's it. This is a 90-minute made-for-TV movie.
You gotta have
and you
the
were
guy,
shoving
though.
so much into it.
Guy feelings.
Well, that's a very minor part in all
undertone.
of this.
Correct.
With that being said, Sydney goes out for another surfing outing.
Yes.
She's with Gia, and she's doing a lot better. And after they're back on the beach, she asks Gia about Kona. She's like, "Hey, are you in Kona?" And then Gia just goes,
"We're tight! Tight!
Are we tight? Yeah, he's like my best friend." And then it comes out that, like, "Oh, do you like Kona?" And Sydney's like, "Meh." And part of what Gia's like, "Yeah, he's great. He's a great listener. He's a cartoonist," which is... the one interesting quirk about him, completely out of left field.
He skateboards, he's got a broken arm, and he can draw caricatures.
Yeah. So we'll see some of the fruits of his labor later on. Jacob, I think, thought they looked better than I did, but I thought his cartoons
He could have been working at Valley Fair doing those.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, he could be working on a beach in Hawaii doing them for tourists, too. So they go out one more time. Sydney is like, "Oh, I don't want to," but Gia's like, "Nah, let's hit these waves." They go out. Sydney gets pulled under, presumably by a riptide, a.k.a. a rip girl. This is the rip girl moment right here.
Wow.
She gets pulled under. I guess she hits her head at some point because she has a cut
Knocked
later.
out.
But she gets saved by Kona, who just goes out into the sea, fully clothed.
Yeah.
Jacob really wanted him to take his shirt
off.
off.
Well, I thought it'd be easier to swim. He just jumps in with, like, this really baggy, like, Hawaiian shirt on and had, like, probably his shoes. Maybe took his shoes off. I don't know.
He couldn't take his cast off, though.
No, he had the cast, so he's swimming.
I was joking that it'd be really funny that as he's trying to save Sydney, he just, like, whacks her in the head with the cast, and that's what gave her the cut, actually. So Gia gets her out on shore, and they take her to Gia's mom.
Yes.
Who I like to refer to as G-Ma at times, though she does have a name of her own that we'll learn shortly. Sydney wakes up, and she's amongst all of this traditional Hawaiian decorations. We got kind of tiki stuff. I don't know if that's the right term, but just the aesthetic of Hawaiian culture. And that, I guess, will become important to her, because technically she is at least half Hawaiian.
Yeah.
She's talking to Gia's mom. And she's like, "You look just like her." And Sydney's like,
"What?
Who?"
Oh, why?
And it turns out that she's talking about Sydney's mom, and that the board Sydney has, it was also her mom's.
Yes.
And it's broken, but Gia's mom says she can fix it. So we get to hear a little bit about Sydney's mom here, and we didn't mention this earlier, but on Sydney's board it says, I think something along the lines of Nani Luha or Loha.
Her mother's nickname.
Yeah, it's her nickname. I don't think they translate what it means.
I was going to say, I don't know.
Kind of a long fucking nickname, though. Nani Loha. That's 4 syllables.
Nani?
Yeah, Nani?
It's Nani.
So, Jima, who is named Malia, or sometimes... Actually, no, I think they just call her Malia. I think one time it sounded like they called her Leah, but I think I just missed the Ma part.
I heard
This is Gia's Ma, Leah. These jokes would go on all day. So, to help her discover some of her Hawaiian roots, Malia takes Sydney on a long excursion, partially on ATV.
With helmets. They have helmets on for safety.
And then it's a hike, and it looks very much like a scene from Lost, because Lost was also filmed in Hawaii. So that was what...
Filmed on set.
Yeah, filmed on... Same with Jurassic
location.
Park. Jurassic Park was also filmed in Hawaii.
Wow.
So scenery seems familiar.
Yeah.
Nostalgic for better things than ripped girls. But they look out at this beach area that I guess was a place where Sydney's family had traditionally held some ceremonies that dealt with whales or something. We'll get to see what one of those looks like in a little while.
Boy.
She gets brought home it's like dark, so it's close to night, so she's been gone most of the whole day. Her dad is out looking for her, but stepmom Elizabeth is there. Dad gets home and comes in to see her, and she's like, oh, how did you get hurt? And Sydney's like, well, I'll tell you the truth. And she says, and this was, I thought, something surprising for DCOM. She doesn't lie, and she brings up actually like a good understanding of like who she is as a person, where she's like, well, I wanted to be more active, to like get out there and like try things and not be like standing back. So that's what I did, and I served. And he's like, what the fuck?
Because that brought back some Vietnam flashbacks.
Why would you do this to me? It's like the town in Footloose. There was one rule in this house, and it was no surfing. No. So he tells her, go to your room, but to get there, she's literally dragged by Elizabeth. Like, she's resisting, but she's getting dragged away.
Yeah.
And as she's getting taken away, Malia is talking to Sydney's dad. Yes. And it turns out they know each other, which makes sense since she knew Sydney's mom. And they're just arguing, and Sydney's overhearing what they're arguing about, and it's, mom and Hawaii shit.
She's gotta know what her mother did.
Yeah.
Gotta know her mother's history.
Typical stuff. Mom and Hawaii shit.
Yeah.
So, Sydney's in her room, and Malia goes home. Elizabeth starts to talk to Dad, who I don't even remember. I think his name's Ben. She starts to, like, kind of push back, not physically, verbally, to be like, hey, what's going on? Like, you've been acting weird. You gotta get over this shit. You gotta get over her.
There's, like, this whole thing about the father, like, where just... I had mentioned it during the movie, where it just seems like the movies and like the actions and like how it's affecting Sydney, they're all just from the father's emotions.
Everybody's got daddy problems.
Driving the movie.
Yeah, it's driving the movie as
and
far as
he's such like a minor character. We don't even know his name.
Yeah, we had to think about it. He drives the character, but it's in his past actions that we didn't see. But then there's stuff in the movie, especially one scene later on, that is supposed to be this very emotional moment, but we've like hardly seen him in this movie, and it doesn't feel that earned.
No.
One thing Elizabeth says is she can't fight a ghost, which I ain't afraid of no ghost. Who you gonna call? Elizabeth. But no, she can't fight a ghost. Of course, she's talking about Sydney's mom, and again, how the dad needs to get over her.
Yeah.
Because it's been 10 years. You can get over your dead wife. I mean, come on.
Wow.
We've all been there. We've all had a wife who died in a surfing accident.
Remarried.
That's that's usually somebody's like third marriage, actually. So the next day, Sydney tells Gia that she can't surf anymore because of her dad, really, and then asks if Gia asks if it's based on her mom's accident, and Sydney's like, "What?" And it's like, it's pretty clear that her mom was in an accident related to surfing already. But Sydney's, oh, what? Do you know about it?
This is like an hour in, and I mean, we know that it's her mother's board, don't we? By this point,
yeah,
we know that. We know. her mother died when she was extremely young. They had to move away from the island.
Yeah.
So like we knew
her
this.
Dad hates surfing.
We knew this like 5-10 minutes into the movie, and she's finding out.
Sydney seems generally like a pretty smart girl, so I think she should have been able to
piece it all together. Come on.
I think she realized it was an accident surfing, but she wants to know what happened. But it's like only so much can happen in surfing, unless it's in a movie. But even this movie's not
head, you get pulled under.
She didn't get eaten by a shark or anything.
No, there was no part of the board missing. They recovered the board.
Yeah, the board was in great
shape.
It
was fine to put in the bar.
The shed for the magical encounter with the cat. 11 years later,
and then she uses her mother's board and almost gets killed herself on it.
So Sydney meets up with Kona to tell him thanks for saving her. And at this point, both me and Jacob noticed that his voice, just for a couple of lines, changed to be very husky and sexy.
Yeah.
Where he's like...
Because he's skateboarding and she's approaching him from behind and then he notices her, he gets off.
So it could be that he's out of breath, but it's a little more than just that.
Yeah, it wasn't like... It was like, hey...
She's like, oh, thanks for saving me. And he's like, I didn't think it was anything. And I would describe his voice in these moments as the audio version of like somebody flipping their hair backwards. Like he is embodying that in this moment completely.
That is the hair flip.
So he shows her one of his cartoons he did of her, which we already said is a caricature, and it looks kind of like her, I guess. And she had a really great line delivery where she goes, "It's great!
Great.
I love it!
I love it." I didn't write that one down, but I do remember that.
But I might have added a couple, a second or two onto that pause, but it's a very noticeable pause.
And what was the reference you made there?
The Vine or the YouTube video of the kid.
An avocado.
Yeah. An avocado!
Thanks.
So
I love it.
Yeah,
and this
is
the caricature that we've alluded to.
And I can relate to that because I hate opening presents in front of other people. I get excited, but I don't get audibly excited. Like
and it just seems so hokey. Not like I in the movie I think she was supposed to like, wow, I really love this. This is awesome, but it just came off as like a
Yeah. I mean, personally, I don't know the last time I got excited to the point that I was audibly, verbally, outwardly excited. I hardly get excited about anything. I go to wrestling events. Me and Jacob and our friends are big fans of pro wrestling. We go to events, and I feel like awkward yelling and cheering. It's like, that's what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm like, no, I gotta dial it back. Yeah, it's... I get excited about stuff, but, when I open a Christmas present, it's like, oh, this is cool.
Awesome.
Thank you for getting this thing that I knew I would like because I put it on my list. So it's like, it's a minor surprise, but I'm not going to be like, ow! I'm not going to be Nintendo 64! We're just going to be mentioning YouTube videos all day long. And none of them will actually be the one I put at the end of the episode.
Oh, stay tuned.
So
I'll always listen to that too. Some of you may not have caught on. After the closing song, there's always a little sound bit that Lucas will throw in there.
It's for the true fans.
So if you haven't heard them, go back and re-listen to all 14
re-download them, and
15 episodes, whatever we're at.
Take your family's phones, your family's devices, just download every single episode on all of them.
Your mom listen, your dad listen, your brother, your sister, your significant other.
Yeah, go on your work computer. Type in some kind of virus that hacks all of the computers to all download the episodes.
Or if you're at school, just like that one Gandalf meme, you can play our podcast through every computer. That Gandalf where he's like bobbing his head and he's like,
this
there's
is
too
deep and dank of a meme that I don't know.
Fun jazz music to Gandalf.
It really helps us get up in the charts. Yes. Hacking computers really helps us get up in the charts.
Post it on the 4chan
and no, please don't. I don't want to incur the wrath of those guys. Okay, I don't even know where the fuck I am right now. All right, yes, after the cartoon reaction. So that night, Gia and Kona get Sydney from her room, and the way they get her attention is they throw rocks at the window,
at her.
Which is what you do.
And we didn't know it was going to be both of them, so when we saw them together, we thought it was maybe I thought it was going to be Kona.
That would make the most sense. But what makes less sense is they were throwing rocks at her window. She opens the window. It's on the ground floor. They could just go up and knock on the window.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the movie thing. You have to throw rocks at the window. but it made no sense.
They're like hiding. They're like hiding too. They weren't.
It was weird. So they get her. She changes at some point, and they take her to a party. It seems to be the luau, the party that Malia was telling about the whales that her family used to put on. It's a fun time. They're dancing. They're eating stuff.
Hula dancers, good food.
But we get some romantic shit where Sydney and Kona are listening to some Hawaiian elder telling a story that's mildly romantic.
And Kona's describing it and whispering details.
It's probably at least like a minute and a half long.
It's uncomfortably
where he's doing his
long.
And then she like fell in love with the surfer. I mean, and then whatever it ends, they kiss. That's the important thing.
The lady finishes her story, and then Sydney's like, "Well, is there anything else to it?" And then he says something, and then they look and they kiss, and then
immediately after, we get somebody running in, going, "They're here! They're here!" And I'm so used to anybody at a party doing that it's like, "Fucking police! Get out of here! Break it up!" But no. It's
the whale.
It's the main event. The reason for the party.
They knew this party was for them, even though it was just one whale.
Yep. So we get a classic DCOM CG effects of a
great whale,
terrible whale. So this movie came out in 2000.
This whale wasn't as big.
The thing I think about with whales in Disney is Fantasia 2000 that had a sequence with whales in it, which were cartoon whales. I would say those whales look more realistic than this whale. I don't know if that asset existed for DCOMs to use, but they should have just taken one of those whales from that movie and stuck it in the water here. The first time we see the whale, it looks bad. The second time we see the whale, it looks even worse.
It's a big whale. It's like the dinosaur from Jurassic World, like in that aquarium. It's a big whale, big splash.
Yeah, the way they insert it,
it's like a mile away, but it looks like
the way they insert it into the waves and the perspective it creates, it makes it look ginormous. It was not a very well done effect, and
it's a big
the
whale.
asset itself is very pixelated, and it just doesn't look good.
Correct.
So as this is happening, Sydney is standing next to Malia, and Malia talks about some bullshit, which is another kind of like throwaway theme about like circle of life, we're all connected, the whales, blah, 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 fucking whatever. Then Sydney asks her to finally tell her about her mom's accident. And literally the first thing that Malia says is the waves were awesome. It's like, that's usually how you should start off sad stories. Like, the waves were so fucking awesome, man. Fucking tubular, gnarly. Oh, they were crunchy waves, brah. Not enough bras in this movie, actually.
No, there really wasn't much.
I think I heard one or two.
I don't know if I remember hearing any, but there wasn't much surfer slang.
That's what there was the point when Kona was describing to Sydney what was going on, and I thought we were going to get, as the movie went along, explanations of surfer slang, and I was really disappointed we didn't get that.
Sad.
So, beyond that the waves were awesome, the accident we already kind of alluded to, it was a pretty basic surfing accident. She fell off of her board. She got pulled under. Probably hit her head or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if they say she drowned or they don't even really talk about the funeral, but like that's how it was. And her dad, Sydney's dad, like took her away immediately. And Malia, it's so stupid. She's like, I think he blamed the island, the ocean. Yeah. I'm like, fuck off. Yeah. Like that is so stupid. And Sydney, I'm happy that Sydney is mad about this because her mom was being a bad mom. She was being irresponsible.
Reckless.
You know, it sounds...
dangerous.
I mean, surfing, generally maybe a safer activity, but I don't know how awesome these waves were. But maybe when you got a kid at home, you'd be a little bit safer.
Yeah.
So Sydney's mad at her, but she's also mad at her dad because, like, her dad never told her. So she's as mad at fucking everything. But not the island of Hawaii.
Wouldn't you wonder the last 12 years of your life, 11 years of your life, what happened to your mother, though? Why hasn't she addressed this before?
Well, I'm sure she's asked her dad about it before, but he just doesn't tell her.
Old age.
You know, that's what movie parents do.
Your mother was 75.
You know, or you just do, like, Star Wars. And Obi-Wan knows what happened to Luke Skywalker's father, but then just doesn't tell him.
Because she had never even seen a picture of her mother.
And yeah, until they got there.
So how did she know that picture was her mother?
Because she had it, she felt it in her heart.
Yeah.
Ohana.
I think that's what she says, though. I just felt it.
So she comes home. She's mad at Mom for being irresponsible. She's mad at Dad for not telling her about it. And she goes in and rips up her picture of her mom.
Rip girls.
Yep, that's actually the rip there. We got it solved. All right, episode over. The mystery is finished. Dad he has a heart-to-heart with Elizabeth, which this is the one where it's just like, he's hardly been in this movie. And usually when he is, he's just typical mean dad being like, don't surf. We're selling this for lots of money.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, I should have been there. That's why I'm so sad, I should have been there when she was like drowning or whatever. I never thought I'd love again, but now I do, and I just feel guilty. And it's just like, fuck off. Like, this is so trite, and also just, he's not the main character. We can only have so many emotionally resonant moments. So this was one of them. And then Sydney and Dad have the DCOM parent moment.
Yes.
But this is mostly just kind of more typical stuff where she's like, tell me about Mom. So he's like, yeah, your mom was hot, she said.
You saw the picture, didn't you, Sydney?
But despite what I've said about the dad, he does offer a okay character analysis of himself where he says, I've been running away ever since that day happened.
Yeah, I was running from
trying
the
to
island.
escape, and I'm just trying to sell this property so I can just get out of here and never need to look back. But this is about you, Sydney. It's your decision. And Sydney actually said, but I'm just a kid. I'm like, yeah, she's just a kid. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's not going to sell this shit, but she definitely should.
Which is something I think even at this point I forgot about. Like I said, there's just so much going on in the movie that you can't even forget.
You forgot about the reason why they were there.
Yeah, you forget why that they're selling this whole area. I don't know. Like I said, it's kind
of. And she
like
says, "What about the money? It's a lot of money." And the dad's like, "Yeah, it is a fucking lot of money, but hey, it's still your
enough for your new Ivy League college."
Yeah,
you picked it out yet, Sydney?
That's what I'm saying. It's like Hawaii. Spoiler alert: they eventually end up living in Hawaii, but Hawaii is extremely expensive to live at.
Yeah, everything's imported.
People love to go there for tourism, so they would have made so much fucking money selling it to this resort company.
Yeah,
which I hate capitalism, but I hate. If I was in the situation as Sydney, I was taking the deal.
Life. She could have had like a suite all to herself.
Yeah.
She could have it all figured out. They could have had free room, free living for the rest of their lives.
The next day, Sydney meets up with Gia's friends. And not Gia. Gia is not around. And all of them are just being huge dicks to her. They're blowing her off. They're like, we don't want to fucking deal with you. And she's like, why? And they show her a newspaper. Because kids love reading the newspaper. They're always looking at what's on the front page.
Yeah, that was... I don't know why they had a paper.
But on the front page, it says the plantation is being turned into this big resort.
The four that she's meeting up with, they're not even characters. We like Lucas had said, we maybe knew like two of their names. We didn't know the other. They're just like the irrelevant four of the six.
So we don't even feel that bad that they're being dicks to her. It's like they're not even characters.
We have no connection to these four people. Who cares?
It's not like in other, it's not like in Brink when his gang turns on him because he's sold out.
And where we know the characters.
Gabriella.
Gabby.
So she's trying to find Gia, so she runs off to Gia's house, but she's not there, but she finds Kona working on her board, which he's drawn the cartoon on.
And he's like hiding it though.
Yeah, it's because it looks terrible.
And then she rips it off, and she's like, "Wow, this is like the character." Well, she didn't say it, but it was the character.
She just turned into the girl from the color, the color friendship. Oh, oi! His flavor look really good.
It was the caricature on the board now that he had drawn earlier in the movie.
So she meets up with Gia on the beach.
Was it on her board too? How did he get her board?
Because
he stole it.
He's Kona, brah.
He snuck
Oh no, because Gia's mom was fixing it for her.
Oh, that's right.
So this was at Gia's house.
Yeah.
Which we don't know where Kona lives. He just seems to kind of live with Gia's family.
In the open shack.
Yeah.
In the middle of
the woods. And Gia's mom.
They want the money.
Yeah. Gia's mom we only see Gia's mom in this next scene where Sydney meets up with her on the beach. Gia does talk about her dad. And it's some... Like, he's never around. He's supposed to call when he's on business trips, but he doesn't. And it's just, calls. Weird throwaway, like, we're trying to make us care more about Gia
They didn't need any. We didn't need.
It's like we don't need her daddy issues. I'm like,
No.
just like, leave it alone. Stop.
We've had plenty of other DCOMs where there's only been one parent involved, so
Yeah.
we didn't need that.
Get over yourself, Gia. You're fine.
Unnecessary.
So this is where we get Gia saying that I don't want you to sell because it will change and things won't be the same. And I said to Jacob, literally the DCOM before this, one of the messages was that change is okay. And now we get this one where it's like, change is not okay.
Yeah.
And sure, it's a bit more change than making popular kids come to the bowling alley. But, like, get over yourself, Gia. And this is where Sydney has kind of an epiphany that I wish they kind of cut this together more like the end of The Usual Suspects, where we just get, like, flashbacks. Because she says, did you just become friends with me because of the inheritance? So it'd be like, she bumps into her on the bike, and you see, like, Gia starting further behind us, waiting for her to come out.
That would have been great, yes.
And as Sydney comes to realization, she, like, drops the surfboard and it, like, crashes on the ground.
That would have been funny.
So, yeah, Gia says that, we started out this way, and eventually we became friends,
and
but maybe it didn't start out that way.
And then, is it later on that maybe she asks because of the mother? Because
I think it's very clear that the mom
G-Ma is the one that put
her up to
put her and the other kids up to it. Yeah, some sketchy shit.
And that made me think, it's like, eventually they try to make us feel bad for Gia, but if they wanted to tell this exact same story, what they should have done is the more typical thing is to, like, put it from the perspective of Gia. Where then we know going in, that's usually how these things go, is we know the side is like, oh, I'm just becoming friends with you because I have to, but then I actually become friends with you. But when we see it from Sydney's perspective, it's like, this is the coldest shit that has happened in a DCOM. Like, Gia is a straight up mean person.
It's like a bombshell. It's nothing that we were made aware of up until like
10, it didn't cross my mind as a possibility, and when it did, I'm like, fuck yeah, rip girl.
Ripping out her heart.
Fuck it up, girl. Yeah, rip it up.
Oh boy.
So then Gia tries to say, well, you lied about surfing, and I just wanted Sydney to be like, that is not the same at all. And as I mentioned earlier,
about everything these last 2 weeks have been nothing but a lie.
And as I mentioned earlier, Gia shows Sydney how to surf, so it's like Gia very quickly learned that's like, it's not a huge lie. Like, this is foundational to your entire friendship is based on a lie, is what Gia is doing to Sydney.
Yeah.
So not even comparable. It's kind of like in The Color of Friendship, where it's like, hey, you know what? Not wanting a racist to be in your house is the same as being racist. Like, come on, DCOMs, you're better than that. I wrote in my notes, I think Sydney is completely in the right.
And then Gia has to explain, obviously. Oh, well, I learned to love, I learned to love you, it started off like that, but now you really want to be your bestie.
Sydney runs away, says she hates Gia, and she hates Hawaii. And you can hate Gia, but do not put this on the islands.
The island.
That is too far. You and your dad, you just hate Hawaii. So Sydney goes with her parents to the realtors to sign the deal, and they toast it with sparkling juice, which they mention is sparkling juice because otherwise you might just assume that they're drinking champagne, and they're like, why are we letting this 13-year-old girl drink the bubbly?
Bubbly.
And she's about to sign, and this is some real dumb shit. So think about where she is in her mind. I want to sign these papers because I learned that all of my friends here were basically lying to me. So she's signing these papers, and she looks out through the window, and she sees all of her friends.
Because they've planned it. They're getting into the van.
It's like, this easily could be another manipulation by them.
They're like, okay, so we know we're going to sign the contract. Let's rent a van, because none of us are able to drive. So who's driving this? It's G-Ma.
Yeah, she's in on it. She's fucking working. It's the long con.
Look at it.
She's awful. So yeah, she just sees them piling into the van. She knows that all of them, the last interaction she had with Gia, she learned that she lied to him, or lied to Sydney. And she also implied that, like, Kona was maybe, we forgot that. She also said that Kona was maybe lying too. And the last interaction she had with the other people, they just treated her like dicks and blew her off. But this is her, I do kind of like them, and I got this contract to sign. Should I sign it?
And we just saw her do that, like, over and over. She'd bring the pen down, and then she'd pick it up, and then she'd do it again, and she'd pick it up, and then it cuts away when she goes back down. Well, this is also the point where the real estate agent, or not real estate, I don't know, one of them said, "You gotta get that Ivy League college. You've been looking at those, been checking those out."
Yeah, they're laying it on thick. So yeah, it's right as, oh, is she gonna write it down? Cut away.
She had seen the model of what the resort was gonna look like, and she was very tempted.
Well, they even kind of cover up. I think at one point she said, "But Gia, it's gonna be like a wildlife reserve in parts. They're like gonna preserve." So it's like, it sounds like they're doing some of the right stuff. If you're gonna make a resort, it seems like they're doing an okay job. Yeah. And I don't know if we said this.
And I don't know if we mentioned earlier that they're gonna turn the buildings into like restaurants and whatever, So they're gonna keep some of the history there.
Yeah.
So they're gonna make, try to make everybody.
So let Sydney get that cheddar guilt-free.
Yeah, get that money, yo.
But we cut away from the contract signing to Sydney running up to Gia's house, probably to find Gia, but she only finds Malia.
I wanted to say back with the reserving for the whales and stuff. I don't know if this was before then, but they had. I don't even remember who she was talking to, but they were telling her.
Well, it sounds like a good thing you brought this up right now.
you'll be able to fill in. You'll know what I'm talking about, because she's explaining the whale preservation thing, and they're like, well, imagine this, how long before the whales leave after, their whole bay starts filling up with boats and stuff.
Oh, I didn't catch that. I was probably too busy laughing at what the whale looked like.
Probably.
So yeah, she finds Malia, and she's trying to be like, hey, I'm trying to tell you that I didn't. She is trying to say I didn't sign it, but we still don't learn that yet. But I would have just thought it was funny that she's like, I'm going to tell you how much money I made. I fucking hate you. You're a monster. But no, it's a nice little moment. Malia gives her a locket that has a picture of baby Sydney with her mom.
And she looked older than 2 years old. I'll tell you that. She looked like
you know a lot about judging the age of babies.
Like 5 or 6. She looked like a kindergartner. No. Yeah, definitely.
No.
Here's a chubby kid.
He's wrong. There's no way for me to tell you this or show you this, but he's wrong.
Maybe we'll bonus content.
No, I'll upload a picture on Imager and link it in the episode. I am not doing that.
They don't look too, though. I'll tell you that.
So she gets the locket, and then she's like, okay, cool. Now I still need to find Gia, but she finds Kona instead. And Kona isn't like giving her the cold shoulder or anything.
And she even says, are you talking to me? And he's like, well, what are we doing right now, bitch?
Yeah. Cool guy.
Cool Kona.
So it's like, whatever. And she asks, where's Gia? And Kona says, oh, she seemed really sad and down, and I don't know where she went. And they run to the beach, and it seems that potentially Gia has gone, I don't know if this is where the DCOM wants us to think, but that Gia has potentially gone on a purposefully dangerous and suicidal surfing trip. And again, she is up to this point, 15 or 16 DCOMs in, done the coldest, meanest shit in any movie, and now we're supposed to turn around and feel bad for her.
Damn straight.
Because the islands will change a little bit. Needless to say, I'm not very sympathetic to Gia.
No.
But Sydney goes to the beach. She doesn't see Gia, but she sees Gia's board on shore. It's bouncing up on some rocks, and it's kind of damaged. So it makes Sydney a little worried, but she takes the board, heading out to sea. She finds Gia, she rescues her, and this, I guess, is probably, in a different movie, this would have been like the culmination. It's like, hey, remember this movie was kind of about surfing and not about like the greatest backstab in the history of the world?
There's so much in the movie that, like I said, you kind of forget at points that, this island's for,
this was Johnny Tsunami, this is Johnny Tsunami, mastering like the slope as a snowboarder. But it's like, hey, I guess this is her showing her full ability to surf, kind of.
Yeah.
But it's largely unimportant at this point. So they get to shore. Sydney apologizes to Gia, says she doesn't hate her or Hawaii. Well, you can hate me all you want, Sydney. That's fine. But yes, please do not hate the island. Gia also apologizes. And also lets her know that Kona really does like her. Oh, thank God. I was really worried about that. And then Kona comes up, and then Sydney's finally able to tell Gia and Kona that she didn't sign the contract and that they're going to live on Hawaii.
Happily
and that
ever
Ohana
after.
means family.
The end.
So the final shot, there's like a little thing where we get a wrap up where like the dad's like, I'll figure something out since we don't have any money and we have this huge property that's probably really expensive to upkeep. But it's fine because Sydney's happy.
Yeah.
But the final shot, Sydney's floating on her board in the water, and she's got a bit of the final narration here where she says something along the lines of, I don't know if I'm saying hello or goodbye to her or Hawaii, but aloha, Mom. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. Because you know what aloha means, hello and goodbye.
Oh.
Did you not know this?
I don't know if I knew that.
Oh my God.
Aloha.
Well, this DCOM, it would have flown over your head too. But then we get a last little bit where she's hanging out with her friends, surfing, snapping pictures. So the pictures, you know what a picture's kind of like? A freeze frame. So they function similarly, but then we get the last one, which is a freeze frame of Sydney. Yeah, where she's doing a thumbs up and it's like, yes! And that's what I'm like, because it's a freeze frame, but the freeze frame, very weird.
Stutters.
Where she's in motion and it freezes. Usually not a problem for DCOMs, but there's a visual, very recognizable stutter where she like shifts around before it settles into being a freeze
had to
frame.
watch it again.
And they're like, I'm so tired of editing this movie. Yeah, for sure, fuck it, that's fine. I don't know, ship it, put it on the air. And yeah, she says yes, and that is the end of Rip Girls.
Rip, R.I.P.
And you might be wondering, if you remembered, the great mystery. The binoculars person.
Where did they go? Who was it?
We see them come up 2 times. We literally never find out who it was.
No.
There
was so much going on in the movie they couldn't piece it all together. They're like, we could easily solve this in 2 to 3 minutes. They could have had somebody like walking by, like in the end, with just binoculars around like just around their neck or something, just kind of like an Easter egg. Like,
well, that's the thing is like we have to try to figure out.
Maybe they did. Maybe there's somebody with binoculars who wouldn't even notice.
It's the deepest lore.
It's Malia.
It's such a secret. That's the thing is you got to think about if they were writing this. If they were writing this binoculars person, they had to have intended it to be somebody in the movie, and maybe that scene just got cut or something. Yeah. So it's like, could it have been Malia? Could it have been the realtors? Could it have been Kona? Oh, no, it couldn't have been Kona because
he was with them.
Yeah.
And same with like the parents who thought maybe all the parents were spying on her, but no, they weren't, because in the first part of the movie, they were arriving.
The writer probably put it in here. It's like, oh, this could be a fun thing. It's like, because sinister music plays when the person's there, so it's like, ooh, it's a cool mystery.
The second time we saw that, I think I had said then, oh, is this going to be a person that's like trying to like hurt Sydney so she can't sell or something, something along those lines. But yeah, we never know. But what we did do is look up to see if somebody else had any idea.
Yes, because we try to be careful, because in kind of media analysis or critique like this, people love to throw around the term plot hole. And a lot of stuff that gets called a plot hole isn't a plot hole, so I was like, well, maybe we just missed something. But I think this is the first genuine plot hole in a DCOM, or just something completely forgotten. Like, we might have called some other stuff plot holes or question if they were, but this is literally a dropped plot point.
Yeah.
So we came across this Tumblr page, which is called the Disney Channel Original Movie Podcast, which now the URL says notdcompodcast.tumblr. So I don't really know what's going on, because it's like a blog post which has sections called essay topics, dissertation. Here, let me read the dissertation for you. Every time I'm in the water, I feel right. Returning to the ocean in Rip Girls in the 13th year. The Disney Channel's veiled queer love story.
Queer love story.
So I could give them a little bit where they try to say, and I won't read this, but they try to say in this person's blog post that Rip Girls, the real love story that would be the most believable would be between Gia and Sydney. But obviously 2000 era DCOM ain't gonna push that.
Yeah.
Whatever they're saying about the 13th year between Cody the jock and the super band nerd, there was no fucking romance there. You're reaching there. I'll give you a little bit with Rip Girls. But the main event is their essay topic, where they have the picture of the binoculars man, and it very much looks to be a man. Actually, no, it actually looks like it's a woman. I think it might be Malia. I don't know. Based on this picture, she has a bracelet.
Let me see that picture.
I feel like it could be Malia. So Jacob is looking at it, and then I'll read the essay.
Yeah, it does look like a woman.
Because I think the locket is on like the bracelet that she gives her.
We could go back and, I don't know if we will, but we could go back and look at, throughout the movie, if there's somebody, with the...
So I think our analysis right now, if I had to say, I think it's Malia.
She has long nails.
Either here nor there.
Why didn't they ever address that?
It is not, it's not ever addressed again by the movie.
I think it is a woman.
But now this person's essay topic, which is too good to not read on here.
Yes.
At 2 points in the film Rip Girls, we see a mysterious person watching the action through binoculars, but we never discover this person's identity or intentions. True. All we have to go on is a music cue indicating that this person is somehow sinister. What do you make of this? Is this film trying to make a statement about surveillance as a means of social control?
Jeez.
To call into the question the morality of Sydney's photographing of surfers without their consent? Or perhaps to represent, and therefore implicate, the viewing audience? Whew! So, write in with your responses to that essay prompt. Maybe that's what we'll have to do. We'll have to check in to see if there's any other posts from this Tumblr page to see if we want in the future for people to write in with their responses to those prompts.
Oofta.
But speaking of writing in emails, if you want to write an email, you can send it to awholenewpod@gmail.com. And I have an email, a special sort of email this year. This week.
The year of our...
It feels...
2000.
Alley Cat Strike took years off my life. But I got 9 of them. So, this email comes from Amazon.com, where we rent all of the DCOMs we watch. And they say, "Hello, we noticed that you recently experienced poor video playback on Amazon Video. We're sorry for the inconvenience and have issued a refund for the following rentals. Alley Cat Strike." If you wanted proof, when I had said Alley Cat Strike is kind of a clusterfuck, even Amazon knows it was so bad that they gave me my money back for watching that movie. So that's the only email I have this week. As I said, a little special, kind of out of the ordinary one.
Yeah.
As I said before, the email is again awholenewpod@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter @awholenewpod, just in time for Jacob to have finally updated the page for the first time in a month and a half, or maybe a little more.
Like 1 or 2 movies behind.
Yeah. You can scroll through the history of our posts, and almost all of them are talking about multiple episodes we did, because never on top of it. So, with that being said, sure, we throw Jacob a bone with his own Twitter handle.
Follow me on Twitter @Jacob_Telejohn, JACOB_TELLIJOHN. For that hot follow back. Follow for follow.
Remember that? Do you remember? I don't know.
Were you old enough?
I don't know. The internet has always been, an ever-changing thing, but
follow for follow?
YouTube and things used to be very different. But yeah, that's Rip Girls. I think this was a fun watch. Oh, we just skipped past our final judgment.
What we thought about
I definitely felt like we were skipping over something. So I'll go. I brought it up, gave you kind of in the moment takes on what I was feeling, but I think there was interesting ideas in this, but there was too many interesting ideas, and a lot of them got dropped and weren't really fully fleshed out. So I liked the character of Sydney, the kind of the shy character living behind the camera, and actually kind of articulating that in a way that was fairly eloquent and meaningful. But we talked about it. Do maybe the character of Sydney don't involve surfing, involve like Hawaiian culture. Like she's taking pictures of Hawaiian culture, and they're like, "Hey, like get in here and join us." Have her learn about Hawaiian culture that way. Learn about her mom. Maybe her mom didn't die in a surfing accident. Maybe it was something else. And then feel greater about like the land and the connection to the island that way. But there's just so much thrown in here, and it kind of bogs down the movie. But there are parts that really shine well, like the character of Sydney, like Kona's okay, I guess. I don't know. I guess Sydney is okay, and the part with Gia revealing that she was only fake being friends for Sydney for a while, that was also a pretty great moment. Overall, this one probably is still in like the middle of the pack where a lot of DCOMs probably live, but better than Alley Cat Strike, better than its Hawaiian counterpart of Johnny Tsunami. I'd take Rip Girls any day over Johnny Tsunami.
It could have probably been 2 movies. No,
they literally were. Johnny Tsunami and Rip Girls were.
Rip Girls could have had a second movie.
Rip Girls 2.
Explored.
Ripper.
All
right, Jacob, your takes.
Like you had said, there's a lot going on. It could have been slimmed down. We got most of our answers answered in kind of messy ways. Still want to know the binoculars thing.
I think we kind of solved it on our own, but
like
it's rare for a DCOM
they should have spelled it out for us, I think.
It's unheard of for a DCOM to make you answer questions for yourself.
Yeah, I mean...
Even when you know the answer far before the characters, they still will really hit it home for you.
Yeah. Like I said, it's something that could have easily been spelled out, which maybe we should... I'm almost tempted to go back and see if, like you said, like if it was from the locket that she gave her.
Yeah.
That'd be really interesting.
Yes. I'll write my own Tumblr DCOM.
Yeah. Thoughts and
opinions. I will say one last thing that I appreciated is there was nothing with Kona like at the end. There was no extra like romantic thing.
That is true.
And that's usually always like shoehorned to be like that's got to be the last thing is the romantic thing,
love,
even there's like a greater meaningful moment with like a family or friendship.
So yeah, it mixed it up in that sense. Like when was the last time we saw him was with the board?
Well, when he was probably surfing around or something at the end.
Yeah.
Or
we don't really see him.
When she told him that she didn't sign the contract.
Okay.
Which, well, I guess one more thing I could say is to really hit home the symbolism at the end where she was taking the pictures, but then she was able to put down the camera to get into the action herself. And I am sitting next to a cupboard, and I've hit it like 4 times this episode.
He's all bruised.
All right, so... No more emails, no more Twitter following. We don't need to repeat those again.
No.
We gave our judgments because that's what this fucking podcast is about.
I give it a 7. 6.5.
7 is generally good.
That was a good movie.
Yeah, that is usually
sloppy,
that metric.
but it was different.
Sometimes you want and sometimes you need sloppy.
It was a fun movie.
So this is a rare time where I have a source of inspiration that I will take the last words.
Well, can I say something before yours?
Well, you and Dustin is changing the rules all the time.
Well, I thought it would have been something we joked about, but I just wanted to say aloha. Because that also means goodbye.
Beyblades, let them rip!
Tell me another way people say mother.
What about mommy?
Okay. Oh, mommy.
Right.
Not mommy. Y'all think, really, that y'all can take all these words that's the same and just say them different because you want to? Nanny? Nana? Nani?
NANI?お前はもう死んでいる。
Stop clapping.